I'm going to talk today about stages of concern and a facilitator's reaction to implementing the RSD in a community of practice. So all of you have been focusing on the impact for student learning. We took the RSD and turned it on ourselves to look at what our reaction was as we tried to implement the RSD. So I'm from the University of Wisconsin-Stout in the United States. And my quick overview here for all of you, basically we took a look at implementing the RSD as the university went from a teaching institution to an emerging research institution. And there was a group called CORE, which was charged with implementing undergraduate research across campus. And so we implemented the RSD over a 2-year period. We had some findings that there were concerns that did change over time. Some external factors really impacted what we did, and data collection methods are critical. And we probably will move forward looking at collecting more data for large groups, probably in a little more formalized way, and also considering efficacy-based change models. So that's the quick overview. So for a more comprehensive overview then, our community of practice really took place because of several things. One was the chancellor charged the core committee to implement professional development, and that was in about January of 2014, and we had to have something up and running by the fall of 2014. It also aligned with a system-wide initiative to engage students in undergrad research across the UW system, which included 13 campuses. So while we were looking at promoting undergraduate research on our campus, we were also looking at incorporating undergraduate research system-wide and collaborating with other campuses. So some concerns. We had a number of concerns as we started. The confidence level of the leaders and participants, it was sort of like the blind leading the blind. John Willison came and talked to us during a summer workshop about the RSD, and then 3 of us decided to lead a community of practice. So we had never led a community of practice before, and we had never used the RSD before. And we were leading people who had never used the RSD before and never been in a community of practice. So that was a concern, I'm not going to lie. We were also, on some other concerns, is looking at what the feedback from students would be. So as we use them as guinea pigs, it will impact your ratings at the end of the semester. And so for the untenured folks, they were a little more nervous than those of us who were tenured. We had some supports from our chancellor, from our Nakatani Teaching and Learning Center. All of us were very motivated and interested in using this. A lot of it was to get our students to think critically. A lot of us were very frustrated looking at our students just let's Google something and slap the answer down and turn it in. We got to move beyond this. So we did use a theoretical framework, several of them. One of them was the RSD. And we decided after the workshop that we liked it because it was scalable, it was flexible. It also enabled the staff to have this kind of lingua franca. We were able to communicate across contexts and across disciplines. We also used the stages of concern questionnaire. It was something that we were familiar with from past research we had done. It had been used on National Science Foundation projects to track stages of concern for adopting a new innovation. It was developed in Texas. The assumptions are that the change is a process. It occurs over a long period of time. It's personal. And that the organization is not going to change until the faculty members change. So it's going to be driven by that. We then, I'm going to have to change my slides or something here, the font. There's 6 levels to the stages of concern. The first stage is when you start to implement an innovation, is that people are very concerned of how this is going to impact them personally. How much time is it going to take? What is this about? Then they move on to the task. We need to manage the task. How do I get it done? What do I do? And then finally they start to refocus about how the innovation is going to be perceived across campus, how it impacts students, how can I collaborate with others, do I need to change, modify, get rid of it. There's some folks who don't like this model or questioned it, so we took a look at some of those other research items as well. And the Chang, Hattie, and Ning basically came to the conclusion that a lot of it worked, but there were some tweaks that maybe needed to be made. The Kwok decided or did some research and indicated that contextualizing the feedback is really important, and we found this to be true. Context makes a difference. And then McKinney, Sexton, and Meyerson really looked at efficacy as it impacted change for people in innovative circumstances. And so some of this is things we're going to go back and explore. We want to take a look at how self-efficacy might impact your willingness to innovate and change. So how much time have I got? All right, good, thank you. All right, so as we took a look at this, then we did a community of practice, 2 of them back to back. We started out with 7 staff members, and with John's encouragement also included a librarian, which was the best thing we ever did. So we took a look at the stages of concern at the beginning, middle, and end over a 2-year period of time and tracked people's stages of concern. We also did this because our Nakatani Teaching and Learning Center wanted data, and we also wanted to know what we needed to change if we were going to continue on with trying to do this across campus. So here's the folks from the first cohort. Participants across campus, we had a really nice range of folks involved, so biology, education, political science, English, speech, and the library people. And the results, we took a look at one person's results. A lot of this goes back to data collection. Make sure that if you're going to look at change, you either have a really, really large number of people, so you can look institutionally, or you have individuals identified pre and post. At first, the first year we didn't track them, which was a mistake. And the second year, we didn't get enough people to be consistent with the feedback, or they didn't feel comfortable with the feedback. So we selected one person who was consistent and tracked changes. So you can see the one blue line, solid blue line, is at the beginning of the year. The dotted line is after 1 year, and the orange line is after year 2. And you can see how those items kind of went up and down. And that's great that you can go in and you can look at the data, and they'll say there's a generic way to analyze the data about, well, they're more concerned about how it's impacting people individually, and here's some reasons why. But as you take a look at the factors, there's external factors and internal factors impacting those results. So if you take a look, there's a large difference on the first awareness item, and it goes really high the second year. That's basically because the facilitator, the person here, had co-facilitators during the first year, and during the second year, the two partners left and was left all alone to manage the community of practice during the second year. So they weren't particularly concerned about awareness the first year because there was a support system, but in the second year, it was like, okay, got to step this up. Some of the other items remained fairly consistent. You can see that the collaboration was always there. People who joined the community of practice were always concerned about collaboration, always wanting to reach out. By the end, I think all of us probably felt really comfortable in that the RSD was a good fit. And so you can see that by the end of 2 years, it wasn't very much of a concern because we all thought it was a good fit. We were going to move forward with it and didn't really want to change it. You can see that probably the personal impact was all over the place, and it doesn't look very consistent until you consider that during that 2-year period, the university reorganized, we got a new chancellor, we got a new provost, and there was a lot of really nebulous, what is this going to look like? Is it going to be supported? What's research going to look like across campus? And so that actually does really reflect the political climate and some personal angst that all of us in the community of practice were feeling at the time. So some conclusions. The Stages of Concern questionnaire really did capture some changes that I think all of us could identify and say, yep, this is, yes, we felt these changes, and yes, here's why. The results in and of themselves don't matter unless you contextualize it, so you would need to go out and do some qualitative research and interviews to find out what was going on behind the scenes, both to impact self-efficacy as well as look at the outside influences impacting teachers and their confidence. And so the self-efficacy model should be considered as well. So some recommendations moving forward is a larger number of participants to get an institutional view. So if you're going to institutionalize this across campuses, one or more, you should get a larger number of folks to respond to it. And the other thing then is if you're going to look at individuals and you can track where people are to try to help them better, which I'm not sure I would recommend doing that institutionally, but if you're working with a peer and you want to see what's happening, or a small group that really trusts each other, then you need to have individual identifiers. You're going to need to then track data with names, pre and post, mid, to look at internal and external factors influencing how teachers feel about the control they have, their institutional support, and their self-efficacy.